A sleeping monster is woken up by taking a locket and is now free. A group of friends on a forest trip accidentally awakens a sleeping monster without realizing it. Their lives turn into a nightmare as the creature begins hunting them down one by one. Will any of them survive? Strap in, movie enthusiasts, it's recap time. Today, we will be diving into the story of a horror film in a violent nature from the year 2024. So, let's start. The story starts with the friends chatting in a graveyard in the middle of the forest. One of them points out a gold necklace hanging on one of the graves. Another friend, Aaron, jokes that the girls at the gas station seemed interested in him. The others laugh, saying the girls were scared, not flirting. Aaron then brings up a local legend, asking if they've heard about the White Pine Slaughter. The group brushes him off, saying they've had enough of his silly stories. Before they leave, they take the gold necklace. As soon as they walk away, the ground shifts and a giant man rises from the earth. He looks badly injured, with wounds all over his body, and his clothes are ragged and torn. Slowly, he starts walking in a specific direction. Chuck is arguing with the ranger about an animal trap that has been set up in the park. Chuck angrily tells the ranger that children pass through that area and could get hurt by the traps. The ranger denies having anything to do with the traps and tries to calm Chuck down, suggesting they have a beer together. But Chuck is furious and warns the ranger that if he ever catches him, or any of his traps in the park again, it won't end well for him. The ranger, now upset, responds by saying Chuck is threatening a law enforcement officer and he knows his rights. Chuck replies that he doesn't care about the law, he just wants the traps off his property. The ranger then says he'll come back with the sheriff to teach Chuck a lesson. Chuck storms off. Later, John enters the ranger's house. He sees a picture on the wall and hears his father's voice telling him it's a photo of his mother. His father's voice advises him to keep the picture safe, and in that way, it will stay with him forever. John walks into another room and notices a gold necklace. Just as he's about to take it, a gunshot rings out. The ranger yells that he warned John what would happen if he came back, and then shoots him. John steps outside and starts following the ranger. The ranger, terrified, begins to run, shouting, "What did I do to you?" But John catches up and kills him brutally, crushing his face. Afterward, John continues walking through the forest. A short time later, we see friends sitting around a fire, chatting and laughing. There are 3 girls named Chris, Brody, and Aurora, and 4 guys named Troy, Aaron, Evan, and Colt. Chris, who is Troy's girlfriend, makes a funny joke, and everyone compliments her, saying Troy is lucky to have such a funny girlfriend. They then ask Aaron to tell the story of the White Pine Slaughter. He explains that 70 years ago, the area was controlled by a logging company. Everything was remote back then, so the company took advantage of the workers by setting up shops in their camps and selling everything at double the price. Aaron adds that John's father was one of the men running those shops, so everyone in the camps hated both John's father and John. One day, a resident tripped over John's car and broke his ankle. He lost his job because of the injury, and everyone blamed John for it. Seeking revenge, they came up with a plan. They told John they had a bag full of toys for him and asked him to meet them at the old fire tower. John, being naive, believed them and went to the tower. At the top of the tower, there were no toys. Instead, a man was waiting to scare John, wearing a fireman's mask. When the man jumped out, John got frightened, lost his balance, and fell from the tower to his death. When John's father found out, the group claimed John had fallen on his while playing. To sell their lie, they even placed the fireman's mask on John's face. John's father didn't believe them, so he confronted the men at the mess hall. A fight broke out, and the men ended up killing John's father as well. The friends interrupt Aaron, saying that while John and his father were killed, this doesn't sound like a slaughter. Aaron continues, explaining that a few days later, the camp was mysteriously attacked and everyone was killed, torn to pieces brutally. The logging company tried to cover it up, telling the police the deaths were caused by poisoning from tainted meat. However, one policeman claimed he saw a man wearing a mask standing there, just staring. People began to say it was John's spirit, returned to take revenge. After that, the company shut down and the area was abandoned. After Aaron finishes the story, the group laughs it off, saying it was a good tale, and then they start joking around. Aurora calls everyone to take a selfie. Unbeknownst to them, John is watching from a distance and ends up being captured in the photo too, though they don't notice right away. The group heads back to their spot to rest. Troy and Chris get into a small argument, with Troy complaining that he didn't like her inviting his friend Colt. Meanwhile, Brody is sitting outside when Aaron comes out. He tells her he's going out for a bit. Brody teases him, asking if he will see the girls from the gas station. Aaron laughs, saying the gas station is a 3-hour walk and he's just going to take a shit. They all laugh and joke about the gas station girls as Aaron leaves. John follows Aaron, who is relieving himself by standing against a tree. John attacks him, violently killing him by inserting a rubber band into his mouth and pulling it apart, tearing him from the inside. John drags Aaron's body to a place that looks like an old warehouse. As he walks around, he tosses aside a family picture of his mother, then grabs a fireman mask from the shelf. He puts on the mask and picks up a saw before heading out. By morning, John walks back to the campsite. Brody and Aurora are standing by the lake. Aurora complains, saying that Brody told her to dress for yoga, but now she wants her to swim, and she can't swim in these clothes. Brody jokingly tells her to take them off, laughing. Aurora chuckles and teases, saying Brody just needs to admit she's into her. Aurora adds that she's going to do some stretches, and when Brody finishes swimming, she can help her with that. Aurora then walks away to start stretching. John silently enters the water and kills Brody by pulling her under and drowning her. He then moves to where Aurora is stretching. Without looking, Aurora, thinking it's Brody, says that she took long enough. John kills Aurora by stabbing her in the abdomen, then violently separates her head from her body. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Colt and Chris are growing worried. They tell Troy that Aaron is missing, and now Brody and Aurora are nowhere to be found. Chris demands that Troy hand over the car keys so they can go and call the police. Troy, brushing off their concern, says they're worrying too much, and carelessly tosses the keys aside. Frustrated, Chris angrily reminds him that they shouldn't ignore the fact that there was a man in our picture. John picks up the keys and starts playing with the little car attached to the keychain. Colt comes over to grab the keys and notices an axe lying nearby. He picks it up and shows it to his friends, pointing out that similar items are scattered all over the place. Troy, uninterested, tells Colt to leave if he wants to. Colt takes the keys and starts the car with Chris. Troy mocks them as they drive away, calling them lovebirds. John comes out and honks another car horn. Troy, annoyed, storms outside. John stabs him with the axe. Evan rushes out and shoots John, temporarily halting him. He helps Troy stand, and they start walking toward the main road. However, John quickly recovers, throws the axe, and kills Evan by striking him in the head. Troy tries to run, but John catches up and kills him too. Chris and Colt return, shouting that Aaron is dead. They freeze in fear when they see John standing there and quickly escape in their car. While driving away, they meet a man named Tom, the ranger's son. Chris and Colt tell him about John. Tom explains that they shouldn't have taken the locket, which belonged to his mother and held his soul. With the locket gone, John is now awake, and they must find a way to capture him again. John arrives at the scene. Tom sees him and asks if he remembers who he is. Tom explains that his father trapped John's soul 10 years ago after he killed many people. Now that John is back, he has killed everyone, including Tom's father. He is about to repeat what his father did. Tom shoots John and tells Colt and Chris to bring chains to restrain him. Colt brings the chains but is too frightened to use them. Tom decides to handle it himself. As Tom approaches, John wakes up, grabs the rifle from Tom, and takes control. Chris and Colt flee in terror. John finds a chain inside the warehouse and uses it to restrain Tom. He then drags Tom inside, where there is a woodcutting machine. John starts by cutting off one of Tom's hands, then decapitates him with the machine. John comes out of the warehouse. Chris and Colt haven't gotten far and spot him. Colt decides to distract John, while Chris goes to the old fire tower to set a trap. Chris is scared, but Colt promises not to leave her alone. As Colt makes noise to draw John's attention, John immediately turns and attacks him with the axe. John continues to attack Colt repeatedly. In the chaos, Chris leaves the locket behind and flees for her life. Chris is injured, but keeps running. By morning, she reaches a road and spots a car parked there. Inside the car is a woman. Chris approaches, and the woman lets her in, asking what happened. Chris tells her there was an animal. The woman tries to comfort Chris, telling her she'll be okay, and shares a personal story. She reveals that her brother was killed in this same forest by a bear. When a policeman named Bobby arrived, he found it odd that the bear had killed her brother, but left the body behind. Bobby tracked the bear's footprints, but they suddenly vanished. The bear then attacked him from behind, attempting to drown him. Bobby survived, because the bear, thinking he was already dead, left him before finishing the job. Even though Bobby never saw the bear again, he made it out alive. The woman reassures Chris that she will make it through as well. As the woman examines Chris's bleeding leg, Chris desperately begs her to take her to the hospital. The woman calmly explains that they need to stop the bleeding first, and it's going to take some time. The movie closes with Chris staring fearfully into the forest while the woman tends to her wound. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.